Hello, y'all.
Welcome to RealTalk with Kimberly and Hannah.
Welcome back for another week.
Yeah, another week.
We love doing this.
So much fun.
Honestly,
Yeah.
It really has been really cool.
And if you guys have any questions or anything you want to know about real estate or myself or Hannah, we'd love to answer those too. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we could talk about anything.
Yeah.
So, if you guys have any suggestions or if you want to hear anything from us, we would love to answer your questions or even any kind of tips that you want or anything, any kind of personal stories, we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, bring them on.
Yeah. This week, I just noticed that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yeah. I just saw that on social media somewhere, and I was like, you know what? This is I know a lot of those months are very important, but this is a very important one because it's so, there's so much stigma around it.
Such a stigma.
And it's still, there's so much stigma around it, even though there's so much that people have done for it. And I feel like it would be really cool to talk about it because, I know I'm affected by mental health. I know you've been affected by mental health. So I think that it'd be nice to talk about it a little bit.
Well, and I think that's part of it too, is so many people are scared to share their stories because they feel like either there's something wrong with them.
Oh, yeah.
Or, nobody else will understand. Mm-hmm. And so I think the more people that are willing to kind of share their stories, and make it, less of a, I don't want to say less of a big thing, but less scary, I guess, or less embarrassing.
Yeah.
It goes back to that shame, right? The hide the shame that comes along with it. So.
Exactly, because you don't realize how many people are actually going through it. I think that, honestly, majority of us are going through some sort of mental health issue.
Yeah.
And, nothing's ever perfect. And I've seen, because with my issues, I thought that I was great. I thought I was alone in the things that I was going through. Yeah. And TikTok especially really helped me see that, there are a lot of people who have the same experience as me. And, that sort of community is really nice because the people, have been talking about their experiences. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've had that exact same thing. That's insane.
Maybe I'm not crazy.
Yeah. I know, exactly. And it's the whole, you're not crazy no matter what. You know what I mean? People know when people are crazy.
My counselor says, crazy is like a spectrum. And she's like, we're all on the spectrum. It's just a matter of where you're at on the spectrum.
Yes.
I'm just like, it's so true, And one of the things she hates is when people are like, how are you? And she's like, I hate that opening line. And that's what everybody says.
Yeah. Oh, everybody says that.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, it's true,
Yeah.
I'm not okay. And is that okay to be not okay? And it is.
Yes.
And so I think that's kind of what we want to, touch on today, and things that I guess maybe you can talk a little bit about your history, however much you feel comfortable sharing. I'll do the same, and then just kind of some techniques that we've used for us personally to deal with that. So
yeah, I mean, I've struggled with anxiety my entire life. I've been going to counseling since middle school for it, and I didn't really know what it was until I met with my recent counselor, and she diagnosed me with OCD, and I was like, okay, now having a name for it, and a lot of people don't know what OCD really is, and I would have those crazy thoughts and all these anxieties, and I would freak out. I'd wake my parents up in the middle of the night, hysterical, saying I thought you guys were gonna die. It's all this all these crazy things that go into my head, and I was in my head when I was little, I thought, am I insane? Why am I thinking all these things? And hearing from my counselor how so many people go through that, so many people have all of these anxieties and these big things that they freak out about, or these crazy thoughts that pop into their head. And I have those little things that I do, the compulsions that I do to offset those anxieties and stuff. And I thought that was weird, and she said, no, a lot of people do that too.
So are those more coping mechanisms, the way that you've kind of decided, I think that's, our body and our mind helping us cope through the anxiety.
Yes.
When we don't have outside, counseling or somebody to actually help us. I think we've self-coped or I don't want to say self-medicated, but yeah, there are ways that you learn to cope with it. And some may be healthy, some might not be healthy, but you did the best you could with the knowledge that you had.
Exactly. And that's what OCD is, obsessive compulsive disorder. So obsessive, the obsessions, those are the weird thoughts, and then compulsions are the little things that you do to offset that, to soothe those anxieties in the moment. And there's ways to work through that and like not have those compulsions as much. It's like I'm closing the door 3 times or something like that, turning the lights up, that like
Sheldon,
those sorts of
Penny,
things.
Penny.
Yes, Penny, exactly. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was a lot worse when I was younger. Like,
Sure.
it was debilitating. Like sometimes I would have to go back and turn off the lights like 30 times, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't move until I did it. And counseling has really helped me like work through that. Doing the therapy that I need to do to like talk through it, and also, talk about like other methods of, healing those anxieties. And I think that counseling is such an important thing.
So important.
Because, a lot of my friends, they still don't go to counselors, they don't talk to anybody, and I see them struggling, and I've told them multiple times, I'm like, I could try to find someone for you, or like, but, some people just don't want to hear that, and some people just don't want the help, which, you can't really help that, but.
Well, I agree with you 100%. Counseling is so important, and I've been with my counselor now I was deep counseling, as you know, for probably a few years, and now I just check in with her all the time, because I don't think we're ever healed, for whatever that means, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But one of the things she had said was, because I had been to counseling prior, and even with her, and I just wasn't ready, and I kind of resisted it, and I wasn't honest with her or with myself. Yeah. Right? And so what she said is, counseling only works if you want it to work. And
very much so.
Yeah. And so for, I don't know if there's a stigma behind counseling. I think it's getting a lot better.
For sure.
But I think some people are ashamed to say, like, I see a counselor, or I talk to a counselor. And,
oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I think medicine is our quick go-to, right? So there's less stigma behind, I take a pill every day, as opposed to counseling. And if you truly need the medicine, there's nothing wrong with that.
Of course not, yeah.
But I do think that you need, counseling and combined with the medicine if it's necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
A good counselor is literally worth their weight in gold. She changed my life.
Honestly, and you never realize how great it is to have someone who is completely outside of your life, you know, completely impartial to everything. Like they don't have any connection with anybody, to see, like subjectively what you're going through and like help you through that. Because, you talk to your family and friends, they want what's best for you, and they like.
And sometimes they can have an agenda and not realize it, right? It's innocently, but they can guide you in how they feel it should be.
Yeah, exactly. And you just need someone who is going to completely clean slate, tell you what you actually need to hear, and like actually help you through what you need to be going through. And I completely agree with what you were saying, that like when I was younger, I was afraid to tell my friends that I was going to a counselor. I was afraid to, she followed me on Instagram, and my friend was like, who is this person? I was like, oh, a family friend. I completely remember that whole memory. I was like, some random woman who started to follow me and comment on my post. But, I was like, I was so afraid for some reason, because I felt like I was going to be judged.
Right.
And I mean, it is, thank goodness, people are finally starting to realize like this isn't something to be ashamed of. Yeah. This is something that is just helping you be a better version of yourself.
Correct. Well, and so for me, with I've kind of shared a little bit about like my past and abuse that I had, and that definitely affected who I was and the person that I had become. And I used to carry a lot of guilt for a lot of the decisions that I had made, and a lot of shame. We've talked about that. Yeah. And once I got in with my counselor, and she had given me a diagnosis, and I never really knew what it was until just recently, and she diagnosed me with PTSD from the trauma that I had been through in my childhood. And she helped me go back and heal my inner child, that little girl, that was molested at 5 years old. And that literally changed my entire life. It changed, the decisions that I made. Talk about coping mechanisms. I definitely created, different ways to cope with different environments. And I didn't realize that my response to a lot of things in life were because of that. And because I needed to go back and heal that little girl.
Exactly.
And once I was able to do that, and realize like that shame doesn't come on me, right? No. And forgive myself too for a lot of the decisions that I had made based on, things that I had been presented in life situations. And she helped me see like I did the best I could with what I had been given. Exactly. And once I kind of realized that, I was like, it's okay, and it's okay to talk about it. And I wish I would have gotten that help from her sooner, you know, because I really am a different person after she's, you know, she's helped me. And I used to always think I was a confident person or this, but it really wasn't until the last couple of years that she helped me get to know myself and my inner child.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
that
yes.
I healed those wounds and I healed those traumas.
I love that, you know, and my counselor talks about your inner child all the time too. She has me go back and like, you don't realize like those little tiny memories, even the little things that like one person could have said to you when you were a kid that completely influenced how you saw yourself and how you acted and everything. You know, those big moments, but also like even like the little things,
small
too.
Things too.
You know, and like sometimes we'll be doing stuff and I'm like, oh my God, you know, like that person had more of an impact on me than I ever could have imagined.
Than your parents or than somebody that, you know, was, you would just assume as a primary influence in your life. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Like I told you, so I go in and check in with her, and every once in a while, and she can just pull stuff out of me. Like I'll be thinking everything's fine. She'll do a question. I'll be like, "Damn it, you know, like
how did you, girl? What?"
Like I do feel that way. I hadn't realized it, and that is why I'm doing this, or you know, and
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I had an issue that I talked to my counselor about yesterday. With one of my friends, and I was like, just tell me what I need to hear. You know, tell me what what I'm not gathering from this.
Right.
You know, tell me what I need. Yeah, tell me what I need to hear.
Tell me what to do.
She completely she walked me through, because I told her like exactly how I was feeling, and she walked me through everything. And on the other side, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want from this. You know, like this is what I need to do about this situation. And I completely, you know, obviously we have to figure those things out on our own as well, but you know, sometimes when you have those things, it's nice to have like someone to.
Well, I was just gonna say that it's funny because I would go to Jennifer, my counselor, and I'd be like, "Here's the situation. Tell me what to do," and she would just kind of laugh, like, "Kimberly, I'm not you. Like, it's not my life. I don't, you know." And I would get, "But what would you do?" You know, like, but what's amazing about her is she was able. And it sounds like your counselor is the same way. Kind of walk me through and understand, you know, myself. And once you understand yourself, I think you can have more empathy for other people.
Definitely.
And kind of understand where they're at, and it just makes you a healthier person. And that's why I'm not in counseling forever, like deep counseling. I could do touch base with her, but she's such a good counselor. She gave me the skills to get through life, right? And so I think, because I told her, I'm like, you're never leaving me.
You're stuck with me for a while, for literally forever.
But she's like, no. She's like, we're gonna like, you know, talk through this. And and you know, it's so funny too, because a lot of times when you're upset about something, you're really not upset about that.
No.
There's a deep-seated issue that you haven't addressed.
Exactly.
And and I wish we could get over the mental illness in this country, the way, you know, it's looked at, and the way the help for people with mental illness is just, it's sad.
It is.
It really is. But I wish we could just get past that kind of, you know, she's crazy. Kind of stigma.
Oh my gosh. You know, and I hear, you know, I still have some people like that I hear talking, and they're like, I mean, I don't want to be with someone who has something like that, because, you know, they're going to act this certain way in the relationship, or even like in a friendship or something. And I'm like, you know, with those sorts of things, you work through any sort of issues that come up because of something that someone might be going through mentally. We are all going through something. If you want to try to find someone who their mind is completely perfect and there's nothing going on up there, good luck, because they're non-existent, you know?
It's not. And I think having that stigma to it is, it's sad.
I think we're getting over that hump though, and I think that, you know, even there's a literal month dedicated to it. I think it's like, and that's why people need to talk about it, you know, like, oh, you could just say, oh, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, or, you know, oh, this person has it, but, you know, you gotta like talk through your experiences, and, you know, like you don't have to, but like if you want to, if you can, you never know what you could be doing for someone else.
Oh, correct. Yeah, sharing your experience opens that up to someone. So
Yeah.
we talked about counseling, which I think is a fantastic and necessary.
Definitely.
You know, to get through this. We kind of touched on medicine a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We're clearly not doctors, so we'll stay out of that lane. But what are some of the other things you've done to kind of cope with your anxiety and help you? You know, because our industry isn't anxiety free. You know, the last couple of this month, I think, has been a little crazy. And then, you know, obviously you're a daughter, you're a friend, you're a sister. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things you've learned to cope with, or how to cope?
I think in anything, you know, like school, work, any sort of relationship, I always have to look back on, like, what are the little things that make me happy, you know, and how can I implement those into my everyday life just to, you know, give me a little boost, or like, is there someone that I can, you know, chat up with, or is there something that I can like write down, or my counselors really helped me find those like little things. She calls them glimmers, which is really cute.
That's cute. I like that.
They're like little moments that make you feel the most like yourself. Yeah. And I think it all ties back to, like, I have really struggled with, like, you know, knowing who I am, and, you know, knowing who, like, finding myself and everything. And I think any sort of way that you can get back into yourself really helps with anything that's going on outside of everything. Yeah. And, you know, I do breathing exercises, and I honestly, like, drinking coffee is one of my favorite things. Like, for some reason, whenever I drink coffee, it's like therapy, you know?
That's
like,
why we
really
sneak down and get coffee sometimes.
So, you know, sometimes we need it. And, you know, just those little things, I think, that have really helped me. And then, like, you know, there's obviously those mental exercises that, you know, I go through and everything, but for sure, like, finding those little happy moments, and also thinking of things that you have to look forward to has also been something that's really helped. Is, you know, this moment will pass, you know, like, time always goes on. I always have that, like, self-talk. Yeah. You know, I'm always talking to myself. I'm like, Hannah, it's fine. Like, just keep going. Like, you know, positive self-talk is such an important thing.
It is important.
It really is. So I think,
what do they say? Whether you're right or wrong, whatever you say to yourself will happen. Or
exactly.
You'll believe,
exactly. Like, you just have to tell yourself that it's going to be fine. Like, you just keep implementing that, and don't shit on yourself. You know, like, don't, if something goes wrong, you know, like, I'm guilty of that. Like, I'm guilty of, you know, shitting on myself if something goes wrong, but, like, just bring it back. Like, know that you, like, find a way to bring it back, and not just like dwell on those negative things. Yeah. You know, what about you? I mean,
so for me, I think first of all, one of the most important things that Jennifer helped me with was establishing boundaries.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't think of that. Yeah,
and I know you and I have talked about that. But whether it was boundaries with friends or relationships, or, you know, even my children, just having those boundaries up, and it goes back to knowing yourself, right? But once you're able to set boundaries, and one thing she said is, we don't ever let anybody be mean with our words or hands or actions. Yes. And so, you know, obviously you forgive people, but there's a boundary, right? You know, and it's like, you can't let people cross that boundary. And so once I was able to set up, and I think I've kind of been two extremes, right? I've been kind of no boundaries, let everybody shit on me. And then the other boundary of, like, well, fuck them all. You know, like, I had this huge wall up, and she's like, neither one of those are boundaries, okay? Exactly. So she described it as like a fence, you know, like a nice picket fence where, you know, it comes to a certain limit and you can see through it. And so that was huge.
Definitely.
And then, you know, like you said, knowing who you are, I found things that brought me joy. And whether that's, you know, running or going for a mountain bike, or really truly just being by myself. Because if you don't love yourself, you know, then you just don't have that. And when I say be by myself, it's not like, I love watching a good Netflix, you know, series. We talk about that. Of course.
Yeah, we talked about Bridgerton.
Right. Yeah. We watched all 4 seasons last night, or all 4 episodes.
All 4 episodes.
The new season.
God.
But really truly spending time with yourself without a distraction
definitely
is huge. You know, if you can go for a walk or a run, or even just sitting by yourself without a TV or radio on, you really get to know yourself. And getting to that point has been huge because I like me.
I love that. I love that phrase.
I do.
Yeah.
And I like being with myself. And, it's made me a better mom. And I think it's made me a better boss. And I think it's made me just a better person. Yeah. And so those are probably been the two biggest things. And then my relationship with God. And my relationship with Christ. And that's, getting into that and spending time. And journaling. Yes. She had me journal. Yes. And, I'm not a reader. Some of my friends read a lot, not this girl. And so I was like, I don't think that'll be for me. And she's like, just try it. And I don't journal every night, but when I do journal, it's nice to go back and look at, and sometimes as I'm journaling, I'm writing letters to myself.
Yes.
And that is so therapeutic.
It really is. Yeah. It honestly, and that's huge. The thought of the saying, I like me, like.
Yeah. I do.
I mean,
I'm pretty cool.
Not a lot of there you go. Not a lot of people can say that.
They can't and mean it.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah, exactly. You can say all you want. Like I like myself. I like myself. Do you really Do you really have to go back and say are there things that I need to work out with myself?
100%.
And it's really crazy because my counselor has told me the same things about boundaries. She says. Because like you said, I was on the end of the spectrum where it was I had no boundaries. I let people walk all over me, all this sort of stuff. And I'm still establishing boundaries with people.
It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, she said, most of the time people should have 3 strikes, or 2 even. If they cross that boundary once and you establish it, if they cross it again, warning, if they cross it a 3rd time, you're done. You're done. Because when you establish those, it's so important to respect them and, for your mental health and the mental health of the other people that you're in a relationship with and stuff. So, that was just really cool. And I agree. Writing is, so good.
So therapeutic.
It is.
One of the boundaries I set that was extremely hard for me, and this was early on when I first kind of was starting to realize it, but, I told you what I had gone through with my stepdad, and my mom supported him and is still married to the man today, from what I know.
Yeah.
When my daughter was born, I invited my mom into my house and to help take care of me. And, we kind of talked about, I grew up in a very violent household. My mom, I believe, is bipolar. That's my self-diagnosis, but just didn't have access to mental health. And so when she showed up to help take care of my daughter, literally 2 days out of the hospital, same thing. She started yelling and screaming, and I told her then, my daughter will not grow up in a household like that. And I also told her that her husband wouldn't have access to my daughter. And at that point, she decided she didn't want a relationship with me. And that was literally the last day that I saw my mom. And I tell that story to say, and that was 16 years ago. I tell that story to say, boundaries need to be set with everyone.
Definitely.
I think a lot of times we think, well, they're family or this or that, but, if they're not emotionally safe or physically safe, or they're doing things that you've allowed, it's not okay. I don't care who they are. I don't care if you're in a long-term marriage. I don't care, if it's your parents, your brother, whatever. You've got to protect your mental health.
Yes, and even if it's a little thing, or that's I completely agree with you. I've set boundaries with my parents.
Me too.
And it could be small things,
right.
But no matter what, nobody can treat you nobody should treat you in any type of way. And that's just, it's a great thing to think about, and it's a great thing to it's empowering, hearing about it.
It really is. Learning to set those boundaries, and healthy boundaries,
yes, of course,
is so good. So what are some other things that can you think of that? I know here at work sometimes, because it's just you and I, we'll just go outside, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Or like we said, go down to the coffee shop, and so that helps a lot.
A little bit of a change. A change in pace, change of scenery is very important. You don't want to be sitting in the same spot for so long. You know, you could work. Yeah, we could work in we've worked in the coffee shop before.
Right, yeah.
I've literally, when you've been out, I've sat on the bench and I've done work on that bench. Like I'm like, give me the vitamin D. I am pasty. I need some sort of like, you know, like that.
Well, you've walked in and seen me just lay on the floor.
And I'm like laying right next to you, like, what are we doing today? You know, like any sort of like change up too, I think is so important, you know, especially in the workplace.
Agreed.
You know, because like we want to be motivated to get through the day and get the work done and everything. So I think, you know, any sort of way I just think it goes back to like finding ways to make yourself feel good, and not staying stagnant. Yeah. Because you know, when I'm sitting alone with my thoughts sometimes, like, and it's just the same thing over and over again, I mean, I can go.
Just gets in there. Yeah.
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 So, I mean, that's never good. You know, like you want to just continue to like move too. I mean, working out and
movement's huge. That's
a whole big thing too, is like, you know, you don't want to just be sitting constantly. You want to walk. Going on a walk even is so nice. Yeah. So I just think all those sorts of things, you know, sometimes it's hard to implement them, but if you can do at least one of them a day, or at least a couple of them a day, I think that's just makes the world a difference.
So what advice would you give to somebody that's listening to us talk, listening to, you know, your anxiety that you are dealing with, my PTSD that I'm dealing with, and like I said, I don't think you're ever healed, you know.
No.
But we have the skills to cope, and we've developed new coping mechanisms, right, that are healthier. What advice would you say to somebody that's sitting there going, "That's me, and I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do"?
I would say first, find someone you love and kind of, you know, talk to them about it. Tell them what you've been thinking about, because for me, the thing that like kind of set this whole thing off of me, like, you know, finding myself and helping myself mentally, was talking to my mom about it. Yeah. And kind of just saying like, hey, I don't know what's going on with me, you know, what do you think? You know, and I think that even just saying it out loud, or if you just say it out loud to yourself even, like, I think that that's just so much more like impactful than, you know, thinking it. So I think that just saying it to someone, and, you know, that first step, I think, should be finding a counselor. I think that that's, you know, even someone just to talk to, you know, you might not know what you're going through immediately, but like just finding someone to talk to, right, and finding, I would say, those little things, like finding a few of those little things, you know, just to like bring you back to yourself, so that maybe, you know, if you are doing this thing and you're feeling like the most like yourself, you'll realize what's going, you know, like what's going on and what you could do to help it, you know.
So I think you touched on something good too, where it's like just acknowledging it, or sometimes just knowing helps a lot. So my son was diagnosed with ADHD last summer, and he just wasn't getting a lot of support and help, and he's super smart kid, and I say that like he tests really, really well. Yeah. But he was really struggling in school and kind of getting in trouble, just stupid stuff, you know. Yeah. His grades were way lower than they should have been. But once he was able to get diagnosed, he finally felt like there wasn't something wrong with him. Yes. Like, now that he knew what it was, because he was like constantly thinking, I'm a bad kid, or, you know, and it's like, no, you're not, you know, like, you have these struggles that other people don't have. They have different struggles, but it's like, once you can acknowledge it, it really helped him, and we were able to get him on the right track and get him, you know, kind of the help that he needs in the classroom, and now his grades are off the chart. Like, he's never in trouble. You know, he's not perfect. Clearly my child. But I remember just seeing the sigh of relief in him once he realized, like, okay. No. You know, like, and he's, you know, 12, 13 years old. So that's great. You know, as an adult, like, if you can realize, like, okay, this is what it is, and these are the steps to, you know, maintain it, and cope with it. Yeah, that just, knowledge is king. Knowledge is power, right? And
I will say that till I'm blue in the face too, you know, and knowing, like, I didn't find out about my diagnosis till I was an adult. Right. I just found out about this like 2 years ago. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, as a kid, I would have all these crazy thoughts in my head, just like pop up like randomly, and I'm like, what is wrong with my brain? Am I insane?
I think that's how he felt. Like, what's wrong with me? I'm a bad kid. And it was like, no.
It's not. It's just something like tweaked in your brain that some people don't have, some people do have.
Yeah.
So many people have it.
Yeah.
And I think as soon as I heard that's what it is, and this many people have, like, millions of people have it, right. I was like, okay, I'm not insane.
Right. I can do this.
It's so powerful to have,
powerful.
like you said, that sigh of relief.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree. Acknowledgement and just, finding out, like, and having that knowledge, I think, is very important.
Very important. And, a good counselor. I think we're both very happy with ours, but I have talked to some other counselors before. And it's almost just like you, like when I hired you, like we clicked, right? Yes. Like you have to have that with a counselor. You want somebody that, holds you accountable and like, Jennifer will call me out sometimes and I'm like, okay.
You're right.
I wasn't asked. It's really good. Let's talk why, but, gosh, yeah. So, it's okay if you have to go through a couple counselors as long as you're not writing them off because you don't want to hear what they have to say.
Exactly. So, yes, I agree. Like finding someone whose personality works with yours and does the things that need to be done.
Right.
Doesn't just like say, "Oh, how was your day? What you doing?"
Right.
Like they
how
actually.
Does that make you feel?
Yeah, no. When you're laying on the couch, like that whole thing.
Right.
Yeah,
so
no.
Tell me how you feel.
Writing in the notebook.
If I knew, I wouldn't be paying you.
Exactly. Tell me how I feel. No.
Right? Yeah, no, legit. I've a couple times said that. So, I appreciate you sharing your story and being open. And
you too. I mean, I think that we've had a lot of cool conversations, and, like we said, whatever you guys want to hear, we're pretty much open books.
We really are. Yeah. We've gotten to the point where, I'm not ashamed of anything in my life. I'm really not. I'm very proud of a lot of things. My 2 children especially, and the people that they are becoming. Yes. They're very kind and open to people. Again, not perfect, but
nobody's perfect.
And you have nothing to be ashamed of either. I think you're fantastic.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And to everyone out there who's listening, we're proud of you. You're amazing.
That's right.
And do the things that you need to do to help yourself.
That's right.
Have
a badass day.
Have a badass day. I love that. Have a good day, y'all.
We'll see you.